So now we're starting new chapter, and this chapter is about what? Files and exceptions. We know what files are, صح ولا لا? But exceptions, what to do if something wrong happens. So far, we did not do anything in our code, but in real software, and if something happens, you need to do, you take an action. So let's start with a simple topic, which is what? What is it? File. All our programs from the day we started, we just inputted some values. صح ولا لا? If we want to run the program again, we need to re-input the values. Yes or no? Yes. Because all our data was from keyboard. صح? But this is not the case in real life. Your programs sometimes will get data from files or from the internet or from cameras. Yani your data in your program will not be what? Always what? Keyboard what? Input. Maybe the data you want to use in your program is stored in a file. Or all along we have done what? When we finish processing, we print the result. صح ولا لا? But sometimes you don't want to print the result on the screen. You want to store the results in a file, or send an email, or send SMS. Do you get this? Yani we will use files to either get data from the file to the file, or produce data from the program to a file. So we have two types of files. One is called input files, and the other is called what? Output files. So what input files are? This is your program. Your program needs data. If the program takes data from the file to the program, this is input from where? From what file? And also we call this reading. Yani if your program takes data from the file, this is input file, and this process is called what? Reading. If your program sends data to a file, this is called output what? File. Does that make sense? And this process is called what? So what is reading? Getting data from a file inside what? Program. This is called what? Input file, and the process is called what? Reading. And what is output file? Is the file that gets data from a running what? Program, and this process is called what? So writing, output. Reading. So if I say read, I mean input data from a file or a keyboard or whatever. Writing means what? Output. Good. So two types of files: reading files, writing files, input and output. So why we need to save data in a file? Let us say you have scored grades of 1,000 students and you want to find the average. Do you think you're gonna input their grades every time? 1,000 students. Do you think you're gonna input their grades every time? La. You will have their data stored where? In a file. Okay? Computers don't care about, programs don't care about formats. And they don't use applications data. They use SADA, SADA. Same as Excel format, but SADA. So you get this data from a file and do the process. Good? You will not input them, huh? Imagine if you have 1 million students and you want to find some results. You will not input the data from the keyboard. You will read the data from what? A file. Tamam. So next time, even you can produce data to a file, and you don't have to run the program again and again. What's the good thing about files? When you switch off your computer, you come back after a year, the file is there. صح ولا لا? Yes or no? So why we need files? To save data after the program ends. صح ولا لا? We either get input or sometimes save data to output file because the file is there. صح ولا لا? We don't have to run the program every time we need the data. Huh? We can save data. Good. So now we know what's reading and writing. Let us just quickly say, what is writing data to a file? From the program to where? To a file. Data is saved to a file, typically where? On a computer disk. Save data can be retrieved, يعني تقدر تجيبهم anytime later, yes or no? Writing data to means what? Saving data on a file. Output file is the file you are writing data to. Reading data from a file, I explained this, صح ولا لا? What is reading data? Of receiving or getting data from a file. And what we call this? And the data will be from the file to the program. Yes or no? بس خلاص. Writing data to a file. This is very simple, by the way. Good. Writing data to a file. 3 steps. What? What are the steps? Open the file. Process the file. يعني افتح ثلاجة حط الفيل فيها سكر الثلاجة صح ولا لا 3 steps right 3 steps right تمام open write close let's see this يلا let's write our first code so now amigos I will create a new folder صح ولا لا and we call the folder لا the folder should be created where here let me close every folder here أيوة okay لا files ليش بيجيبني على الفانكشنز I don't want functions والله بعرف ها new what ما بدي new folder هون okay I just want the new folder to be from where from here and files does that make sense so now we have a new folder and this is file 1 dot what's the program name good يلا معي والله سهلة file equals open يا سلام what's the file name names.txt whatever name you want and now there is an important point here this example we are outputting data to a file which is what writing so you have to tell Python that you will be what writing data to the file by the way now Python will create a file called what in which folder the same folder of this program which is files of okay type let's go back to the slides so here is out file and I called it F then you out file what is this message whatever you want to write so F dot write what's the here F dot write okay this is Ziad Ali F dot write okay Python F dot write fall 2024 we are done F dot what close so open write once you finish you do what let me show you what's gonna happen when I run this لاحظوا here in the files folder what do you have run do you see anything what do you see here names.txt what do you see all in one line صح طب استنوا شوي this is C151 L54 what's this names. So the file is available in what? Does that make sense? You get it? طيب, what did you expect? You expect each one to be in a separate line, صح ولا لا؟ لا يا سيدي, don't expect. You need to do it yourself. So what's a new line here? Back what? \n, صح ولا لا? Now it will do what? A new line. طيب, wait. Now, is there a file called names.txt? But again, you are doing what? You know what's going to happen? It will delete the file and create a new file. Overwrite. If you don't believe me, and usually you don't believe, okay. Look at the time here, 10:06 now, صح? طيب, if I run the program again, here is names. Is it what we want? Yes. And look at the file here. Let me just 10 what? So this is not the file that's what it's overwrite the file. But you will not believe it's overwrite because same data there, no overwrite. No, it's overwrite. Prove to me it's overwrite, Look here. Right. Now, are we writing data to a file called what? What? And we will run this. This is names 10:08. Do you agree? Yes. Open. What's inside it? Is it overwrite now? Is it? So overwrite. طبعا, if I don't want to overwrite, there is a way. But if you just output a file and the file exists, it will do what? Overwrite. So let's look at the slides again. Look at the code. Open, file name, and what we did, open it for what? Right. We are telling Python compiler that we're going to do this for writing. Then write. Do you need new line characters when you write? Yes. Once you finish, what's going to happen? Once you finish what? Tamam. Good? طيب. Let me just make the program, real program, file.to.python. I'll make a function, okay? Okay, print names. And here, file. Count is equal to integer input. How many? Names. I'm taking from the user the names. For I in range, you understand what I'm doing? Yes. For I in range count, okay, name is equal input name. Now I need to write this name to a file. Should I open the file before the loop or inside the loop? You open it once. Yes. And you write it to the file as much as you want, صح ولا لا? And after the loop, you close the file. Let us say here is file. Okay, f is equal open. Okay, and let me just call this file name. Does that make sense? Open file name. And what I need to do here? Right. So now I have one name. I need to write it to where? To the file. f.write what? Name plus what? Plus new line. And after you finish, f dot what? Close. Yalla, here I have a function. I'll call it print name. And the file name, let us say studs. What's the file name now? Stud.txt. So I'm sending this. So here we're going to ask the user how many what? And then open a file, and then inside the loop, keep taking names and add them to what? The file. Does that make sense? Yalla, How many students? I have 5. Enter name, Ali. Hassan. You see what I'm doing? It's taking from me the name and storing it to where? To the file. Tamam. Good. Where is studs? Ah, did it work? Does that make sense? So you know what's open, you know what's closed, you know what's right. صح ولا لا? تمام. And so open is used to open what? Creates a file object and associate it with a disk. Tamam. Now we talk about what? Very important here. What is this? What is mode? Writing or reading or append. صح? By the way, there are many other modes. We will write to output data to a file. Read to what? Get data. Append بالعربي ايش يعني؟ إضافة إلحاق. Append, you want to write to a file, but to the end of the file. يعني to keep what? To keep the old data. Does that make sense? Did you get this, amigos? Yes. Append, it's not overwrite. If the file exists, it will continue to write to the file. Does that make sense? يعني I can here now. If I change this to A, this file now will be opened for what? Writing or appending? So the existing data, is it going to be gone or will be kept? Will be kept. Huh? I'm going to do run. How many names? 3. شو اسمك صديقي؟ ها؟ جمعة. شو اسمك أخي؟ حمزة. شو اسمك صديقي؟ بشار. Now what happened? What do you think? Oh, what about the old data? Available, صح? So why? All of this because of شوفوا مصغرها الA. Do you see the A here? Because of this A now, you can add or append data. But if this was W, it will high remove. بقول لك, okay? English, Arabic, perfect. تمام? High removing, huh? تمام. Okay, good. Does that make sense, amigos? Yes. كويس. So at least now you know what is what append. We will talk about reading. تمام? If the open function receives the file name that does not contain a path, what's this? And if you just give it a name, it will create the file in the same folder of the program. Do you get this? If you just give a name to the file, students, it will create it in the current workspace. Tamam? However, if you create a file also, it will create it in the same directory as what? The program. طيب. If you want to create a file in a totally different folder, يعني your program is running on D, but you want to create a file on what? C, for example. Do you get this يا شباب؟ معاي؟ طيب. راح تقولوا لي how to do it here. But let me just, where is the here? Copy address. Do you know copy address, amigos? Yeah. Copy address, you go to somewhere and copy address as text. Now you will see. Now, I'll make it in ايش اسمكم انتو؟ Hamza. Do you see this now? I need to create the file in a folder, new folder, مش موجود عندي. What's the folder name? Where? What's the file name? Studs txt. Okay. This is in this case, prefix the path with the letter what? R. طب استنوا شوي. Look at this. يا شباب, do you see \T somewhere? Do you see \T? If you don't see it, well, what's this? If you get this? Sometimes \N. Do you mean tab or the name of the folder? It's the name of the folder, صح? But Python knows if you have \T, this is what? Now you're just using what? You're telling Python, don't think about it. It's a text. How you do this? By just adding what here to the beginning? R يعني ignore anything that you would think what? Did you get this amigos? R means raw data هيك عشوائي. طيب خليكم معي. So here open, where is open? Huh? Okay, I can put R. شوفوا كيف here. R وفile name. تمام? This is if you have what? The file name. I will put this here. R file name. Does that make sense? So let us see now where this file is going to be opened. Where it's going to be what? Opened. ها؟ والله ما بعرف. استنى شوي. خليني ألغيها. I don't want to make it complicated. I will take this, all of this. Control X here. Okay, now I know it's going to work. Now, where's the file? R means raw data. In which folder? Hamza, run. How many students? 3. شو قال؟ File not found error. Okay, عارفين ليش file not found? Because append should be what? W. رحنا بعيد. How many names? 3. Again, because Hamza is not there. صح. So now I want it on the, let me go to, this is CMBS. I have a folder called practice. صح ولا لا يا شباب؟ صح? So now copy address. I will use the folder called what? Practice. Does that make sense? Now, do we have the folders? Is there a file? No. Hopefully now it's gonna work, huh? How many names? 3. Name. Okay. Kamal, Ali, Bilal. Does that make sense? And where is the file now? Where is the file? Inside which folder? Practice. Do you get this, ya shabab? So what's this here? If you are using this path, we call it. You know what's path? يعني مكان. Where راح find it? You need to precede it with what, ya akhwan? With R. If you don't do anything, if you just put the file name, studs.txt, if you just put the file name, so where it will be created, the file? In the same folder of this program. Your program in D folder ABC, the file will be created in D folder ABC. Does that make sense? Back to the slides. Done here? Hi, واضحة? Okay, writing data to a file. What's the function I showed you? Write. String. And once you finish, you need to do what? And do you think you're going to get a new line والحكي هاد كله, or you need to provide them? You need to provide. Does that make sense? Read. Okay. Wait. Reading what? What's this now? Oh, now this is okay. I am opening this file for what? For read. ولاحظوا الفانكشن very بسيطة هي. What's the function? طيب استنى شوي. Okay. Read names. Good. I'm gonna make a function. I'm gonna call it what? What's the function name? Read names. تمام? يلا. What? We need to open a file. F is equal open studs. طبعا this time it will go txt dot. يلا now very important. What? R. خلاص now. Then what? Read names home capital N, right? Okay, now text is equal to F dot read. يا شباب, why I said text? Look معي. Dot read. ماشي? Okay. And print text. We forget something. What is it? F dot band karo. Close. So now I'm gonna use which function? Second one. يلا. Did it read them? صح ولا لا؟ طب استنوا شوي. Okay, wait. Let's just go anywhere, huh? Okay. E-learning. I'll put this, huh? You see this text, amigos? Huh? طيب, wait. Good. ال54 تمام. New file, new-ish text document, data dot what? txt. And what's inside it? Do you see what's inside it? صح ولا لا? تمام. Save. يلا, now I'll just change what? Now this function will read what? Which file? Everything inside it in one string. ليش؟ rename. Because I should know that no need for txt. هيك الاسم غلط. Run. Is this what was inside it? Good. Type. What is a good thing? File what? File name, and make file name variable, صح? Yes or no? And here read, I say data dot what? So just make you can use the function to read any file. Yes or no now? صح ولا لا? Make it a variable. Is it? Good. طيب. So how to read all the data in a file? Which function? It will read all the file and return it in one string. Now you know what's return. صح ولا لا? You no longer بتشا, صح? بتشي مجموعة. Okay. You know a function read returns the entire file in one string. There is a function called read line. It reads how many lines? One. And returns them as a string. You get that now? يعني what you are calling now, read, write, are all what? Functions. تمام? Good. خلينا نشوف. Did we do this in file.read? Only works if the file has been opened for what? Content returned as what? يعني from now on, when you call a function in any module, you need to know what the function returns. يعني if you don't know it's going to return cola or cakes or potatoes, no, you need to know what the function what? Returns. Does that make sense? And after you finish, what you do, amigos? Close. Okay. Read the entire files. صح? And there is another one, what? It reads what? One line at a time. How does it know one line? Because of the new line character. تمام. شوفوا معي. I created read lines. Read line what? معايا يا شباب؟ طيب. print. شوفوا. أنا فتحت الفايل. print f.read. What's this? Read what? Read line. It will read the first line. I need you to understand this. It will read the first line and return it as a string. It will read the first line and return it as a string. طيب. Then what happens? You need to know this behavior. Just a second. What happens then? This is the program, the file. It will read the first line and return it as what? And the control will move to the next line. يعني it's going to be ready where? If it reads the second line, it will return it and the control moves to where? This is very important to know where the reader is going to be. You get this? Because the reader moves after it reads to the end. And the reader راح يوصل مرحلة that there is nothing to read. This is called what? End of what? End of file. You need to know that when the reader reads, it goes to the next unread space. Good? طب قولوا لي هلا ايش هون print what's gonna happen here tell me شوفوا معي طلعوا print read line print f read line how many times I did it so which names will be read now the first three names صح ولا لا I'm not reading everything here I read what read line it will read the first name وينهم it will read Ali and it will come here the reader صح ولا لا it will read Hassan it will come here yes or no طيب let me call this function read line لا هنا أنا بدي studs صح ولا لا I need studs right not names how many names good did you see that there's an extra space why Aslan there was a new line character in the file and print also يعني there was with after Ali there is a new line here you don't see it but there is one صح and print will move you to the next line naturally print moves you to where so that's why you get one extra line space and there was one with you can remove it but now you know at least there is a problem in this so reading data now read line object reads a line from the file lines returned as a string including what you can remove it so read line will return what yalla let's do this what is data you know the data file yes or no just a second you know the data file صح بس خلينا what's the first line test what's the second line whatever تمام just let me save this file now I will read the data file see I get the first line the second line and this is one line but the line was very long in the file يعني for the program the line is what is written before the طلع يعني انتوا ما عرفتوا do you know why now it's what it was a line because now this is one line do you get this if there is no new line then it's not a line يعني it's not what you see for programs it's what it's a new line character there is one or there is nothing do you get this now طيب I want you يا صديقي to skip the first line tell me what to do f dot what read line ما تطبعه don't print it so what's going to happen it will read it what is it going to be printed or stored so it will read it and what about the second one it will be what so what's the first line let us see here this is the first line you will be skipped you get this I saved it so the first line you will be skipped صح ولا لا so if you want to skip a line just read it but don't save it you will do this a lot of times later because the first line sometimes will be headers titles is not the information so now if I run this amigos what is the first line skipped صح ولا لا right do you get this so you can skip the line or so read line reads the entire line including what the backslash n you can store it in a string يا اخوان انا here I was printing it صح ولا لا بس يعني line 1 is equal to you know what this صح ولا لا now line 1 is stored where in a string called what I can do this for also what I can do for what line 2 and line 3 you know this صح ولا لا so if you want to store it if you want to print it if you want to whatever line 2 line 3 good ماشي يعني you do whatever line 1 line 2 and line 3 so what we do here we skip the first line and we read the next 3 lines does that make sense good وانا ما نزلتهاش Okay. So I believe here we did this, and okay. Concatenating a new line. Okay. Yeah, Juan, I explained this. If you want to write a text, don't think the text will be given a new line. You must do what? Yani if you want a new line, you must provide \n. If you want a tab, you must provide what? \t, and you must do this. تمام. If you don't do this, تمام. طيب. هلا we know this. طيب, do you notice when I read the lines? See now, I'll print line 1 يا شباب. Look, and I'll print line 2, and I'll print line 3. I want you to see that there are 2 spaces. صح ولا لا? I want you to notice that line 3. I read names, studs, you know? تمام. Run. Why 2 spaces? Because actually when we stored studs, we added what to the line? يعني there is 1 and print. طيب. When we read, let us say I want to remove this. لا لا لا. If there is a new line tab, you don't see it. It's there. You see its effect. These characters, if you want to remove a new line, شوفوا كيف? Okay. So what you need to do is using what we call R strip. R means right. R strip يا شباب. R strip, remove from the right side of the string whatever you want to remove. شوفوا معي. Here R strip what? So now whatever you read, this will return a string. صح ولا لا? The string R strip what from it? \n. So look at this يا اخوان. I will only do it for the first one and third one. تمام? The second one, did I do it? I want you to see the effect, صح? Look here, Hassan, Bilal, what? Did we remove it? So that's why you get what? So now you know what is R strip \n. If you read a line and you don't want the new line character, additional one stored in it, what you do? Right strip. Tamam. I will later explain right strip here, or R strip can be used for so many good things. You will know this in next chapter when it comes to strings. But now, how to remove this? What, amigos? R strip. Good. Appending data to an existing file. ادي مين هدول صح؟ احنا بنعرف صح ولا لا؟ How to append data to a new file? Just use what? A. يا شباب, A will append data to a file. If the file exists, it will append data to the file. If the file does not exist, it will be write. Are you listening? If there is a file, it will append data to it. But if the file does not exist, it will be what? Right. تمام. خليكم معي. So here, I will make what? I'll make it now what, amigos? Append, صح? Which function I was calling? Print name, صح? I will comment this. And now go to which function? Print name. Print name, what it's going to do? It opens which file? And append mode. صح ولا لا؟ طيب. بس خليكم معي. I'll make it studs new. Is there a file called studs new? طيب. If it's W, you know what's going to happen. صح ولا لا? If it's A, append. There are 2 cases. If the file exists, it will be append. If the file does not exist, it will create a file and start from the beginning. Next time you run it with the same file name, it will be append, صح? Because there would be a file. So now in this case here, I say 3. Okay. Hi Abdullah. Okay. Hi, Muhammad. Oh, hi, Hassan. Good. What's the file name now? So append is what? Append is new. صح ولا لا? Right. But next time you run it, is it going to be a append? Yes, because there is a file now. So now, do you have a file? So now it will be append, huh? Okay. Is it append now? To the end, huh? Of course, this is this can go a lot of things. So now you know what's append, and you know you need to add a new line. And if you are reading how to get rid of the line, how to get rid of the line, R string. تمام. طيب. Okay. So where did we stop today? Reading and writing what? Numeric data. And next time, remind me to start from reading and writing what? Numeric data to files. Now you need to know that if you are writing or reading numeric data, you need to do one more step. If it's text, you know how to do it now. But if it's numeric data, you cannot write it directly to the file as numeric data. If it was integer or float, you need first to convert it to string. Then write it to what? To the file. This is one side. The other side, if you read numeric data, it will be read as a string. So numeric data, before you write, you convert it to what? To what? String. And when you read the numeric data from a file, it will be a string. So you need to convert it either to integer or what? Float. Does that make sense? Did you get it? Before you write, you convert. After you read, you convert back. Did you get this? So if you get this, let's see this example then. Files. Okay, here's a new. Name is equal to Ali. Is this text or numeric? Text. X is equal to 10. Is this integer or float or text? Integer. Y is equal to 11.11. What's Y? Float. ها؟ كيف علي يعني؟ قويه. Good. So now let's open a file for writing. F is equal to open nums.txt. What's the file name? And for what I'm doing it? For writing. F.write name plus backslash n. This is fine. Name is a string, right? F.write X. F.write Y. And as usual, you always need to close the file. Does that make sense? There is a problem with this code now when we run it. The file will be opened. We will output the name, but here we get an error. Why? X is an integer, صح? You cannot write integers directly to the file. Look. You get what error? What's the error type? Type error. Right argument must be what? Not So now, how to convert it? Very simple. Just put str around it and str وبس خلاص. So now x is what? Is converted to what? String. So run. We still have a problem with who? With y. And because y is what? Okay, so again, we're going to do and say str y. And now if we run this, it works. Do you see this? طبعا we needed a new line between them. صح ولا لا? But now we know it's what? It's a string. So you cannot write numeric values directly to a file. You must first convert them to what? String. So now I'll just do this and do this. Run. Does that make sense? Type. This is what? Writing numeric data. On the other side, when you read data from a file, if it's text, that's fine. It's one step. But if you read numeric data, they will be read as a string. So make sure you convert them to what? To either integer or what? Float. I'll show you. f.open, what was the file name? nums.txt. صح ولا لا? Yes or no? Now I need to use it for what? For read. مظبوط. Enter. Name is equal to f.readLine. Do you agree? First line is name. Yes or no? Dot rstrip. What? بشار مالك جاي بكير يا زلمه. مالك جاي بكير؟ عشو مستعجل؟ مش بكير والله. انا بادي متاخر. تمام والله. انا خفت عليك شفتك جاي بكير وقلت عنده emergency. تمام؟ من وين بتيجي؟ يعني مش من الجامعة. يعني مش من الخور ولا من مسعيد ولا من كرعانة. تمام؟ طيب. Now, next, we need to read x. f dot what? Read line. r strip backslash n. y is equal to f dot read line r strip backslash n. طيب. Now, I want to see this. Print x times 5. طبعا I forgot one thing. What is it? F dot close. You close the file when you finish reading. What do you think the output is this gonna be? Huh? لا, not error. Is this error? This is x repeated how many times? Because x is a string. When you multiply a string with a number, it means what? Repeat it. If you don't know, this is name. Name multiplied by 5 will be what? So now, what's the output? Here, x. What's the output you told me? Oh, why is 5 tenths? Because it's a string. So what do we need to do? Convert it to what? Integer. It's very simple to convert it to integer. Just outside here, put what? We did this with input. صح ولا لا? Actually, input itself returns a string. And you used to put input, outside input, what you put first? To convert the string of input to what? Integer. Input returns a string, and you did this with float. Do you remember? And now we do the same thing. Good? if you use integer like this, ya shabab, no need for what? No need for what? Because integer will remove the backslash n. Do you get this? If you use integer, no need for r strip backslash n, because when you convert it to integer, that one will be removed. Huh? Let us see now. Now, what's the result? 50. Why 50? Because x was what? 10. So x now is a number. صح ولا لا? What about y? What we need to do? Float. صح ولا لا? And if you use integer or float, no need to do what? R strip backslash n. Part of the process of converting it to integer or float, they remove the backslash n. And now if I do x times y, we know both are numbers, صح? So we get what? A number. So, right. So before we write numeric data to a file, we need to convert them to what? String. Otherwise, there will be an error. After we read the numeric data from the file, we need to convert them back to their type. Otherwise, we would be reading a string. Does that make sense? If you read data from a file and they are integers, you need to use int. You need to use float. If you use int or float, no need for what? No need for what? R strip. Does that make sense? Tamam? Clear? Good. So now, I explained what here? Writing what? Numeric data, what we have here. Outside, you put str. And when you read the numeric data, these are, in this example, all are integers. If it was a float, you need to convert it to a float. Does that make sense? Is it clear now? Yeah. In Python, there are so many syntaxes. When I grade, sometimes I know students read different sources. Tamam? With open, hatta, maybe today we can explain the difference with open. Okay? But even many of the things we explain in this course, you might go and see different code and it's shorter or faster. We know that. But this is the academic way of teaching you. Remember, we are not teaching you Python. We are teaching you what? Programming. So the concepts you learn here, we try to make them what? General, that when you go to Java next semester, you can just go quickly and you know so many things you have learned here. Type. Now using what? Oh, this is what you're gonna do every time. This is what you're gonna do every time. So far, I have been reading the file either as one string. You remember read command? It read the file as what? One string. Or one line at a time, صح? Best. What if I tell you, I don't know how many lines in the file. There is a file with unknown number of lines. I need you to read them line by line. How many lines? If I tell you 10 lines, you go in a loop, 10 lines, read line 10 times. صح ولا لا? But sometimes we don't know how many lines. صح ولا لا? So files typically used to hold large amounts of data. So if you have a file with 1 million lines, you're not going to use 1 million read line commands. You need to put this in a loop, yes or no? Loops typically involved in reading what? From or writing to a file. Often, غالبا, the number of items stored in a file is what? Unknown. Read line will read one line. Let's read this now. And remember why when we learned loops, Guys, read line, if there is no more data, it will give you back an empty string. Read line, if there is no more data, what it will give you? An empty string. Listen carefully again. Read line, if there is no more data in the file, what it's going to give you? Empty string. So now, why I'm saying this 3 times? Now, do you think that you can loop until read line returns an empty string? صح ولا لا? Listen. Read line returns the line. But if there are no more lines, what is going to happen? The string will be what? Empty. So now, by the way, you don't have to know the number of lines in the file. You can keep looping until the read line returns an empty string. It's like a sentinel. يعني while read line is not empty string, keep reading. Do you get this? While read line does not return an empty string, keep what? Keep reading. بس خلاص ها sentinel. Look this ها شو ايش الشرط تبعنا راح يكون؟ While what? While line is not equal to what? Empty string. I don't know 1 million lines or 3 lines. But this one would tell me that خلاص no more data. Good. How did we do the sentinel? Do you remember? Take one input before. Yalla. Take one input before the loop. Design the loop condition so that it becomes false. Process it. Get the next input in the last line of the loop. Yes or no? We will do the same thing here. Here, I will just bring any data. I'll just bring any text. مش راح ألعب يعني. Good. طيب. And here, I'll create a file. I'll call the file text.txt. I'll put this in the file. Does that make sense? Good. طيب يلا. Okay. Read lines. Dot what? I have a file. The file name is what? Text. I don't know how many lines in it. I just need to read data line by line. So what to do? First, open the file. Open text.txt. Why you are opening it? Why are you opening it? For reading or writing? Reading. Yalla, read the first line. Line is equal to what? F dot what? Read line. Good? Yalla. What's your condition now? While what? Line is not equal empty string. This is empty string. بس خلاص. Good. So now, is it first time? Let us say there is data. Is it going to go inside the loop? Yes. I will not print it. حتى I'll make a counter يا شباب. Lines equal what? 0. If you go inside, lines plus equal 1. Do you agree? Print what? Lines. بس مش راح اطبع التكست. Okay. I processed it. What to do in the last step of the loop? Read the next one. طبعا read. We did it from the keyboard زمان. صح ولا لا? But now read it. We're gonna read from what? From the file. So after reading the first line, it will process it. Then it will go to the next line, and it will come back to line 5. Yes or no? And it will keep doing this until what? No more lines. After you come out of the loop, you need to what? And print, for example, here, print F lines. بس هيك على السريع بدي اياها. Run. What? 10 lines. استنوا شوي. Huh? I'll make more lines, huh? You know how to make more lines. Good. I'll save it. Run again. How many lines in the file? 17 what? Lines. If you know you are reading text, you can put here what, ya shabab? R what? R, you know what I mean, صح ولا لا? R strip \n. R strip \n. Now I just print line. You get my point? Huh? These are the lines. شو 4 lines بقول لي هاد؟ شو على كيفه هو؟ ايش صار عنده؟ في شيء غلط عملته انا صح؟ او R strip what؟ \n. Yes. شو بده؟ عارفين ليش؟ ايش صار؟ قولوا لي شو صار. Is there empty line here? Did you get this? Huh? Yes. So now here, I don't think now we have empty lines. What do we have now? How many? 15 lines. And do you see the lines, ya shabab? Good. So now, if you don't know how many lines, if I ask you how many lines in a file, what would you do? You're going to use which loop? طبعا, next week, I'll show you a simpler way. Much simpler, huh? But this is very useful way. We use sentinel loop. You thought sentinel loop خلصنا منها ومش راح نشوفها أبدا في حياتنا. You thought we finished with sentinel loop and we're never going to see it. صح. But now we need to use a sentinel loop to read a file when we don't know the number of lines. So what we do? Read line before the loop. صح ولا لا? Why we are doing this? Read line يا شباب returns what? If there are no more lines, returns empty what? So we will keep reading while what? We will keep reading until what? طبعا you will come to me and say, can I use while true? Yeah, you can. يلا قولوا لي. Read what? Line true. Dot what? Open the file. I'll just copy paste most of the code. تمام? You remember while true, صح? Open the file. وعلى طول روح and what? Lines equal what? Lines equal what? 0. And while what? While what? True. While true, you're gonna do what? Read line. صح ولا لا? Yes or no? If what? يلا قولوا لي. If what? If line equal empty string, what to do? بس خلاص. وصلت الفكرة? Is it? Because I think, okay, now is while true is gonna start. And with while true, the first thing you do in the loop, you read the input. Then you validate it, if it's sentinel or not. Good, right, run. Is it same output? Two ways. Same? Good. So now here, read lines, okay? ماشي الحال. Good. Use a loop now. What's this? What did we do here? While what? Line is equal to what? You know this, صح? Still, there is another simple way how to read it. والله العظيم. Look. Do you want to read line by line? طيب. وين أنا? Read lines for loop. شو والله عن جد. Yes عن جد. What? Read lines for loop. Open the file. تمام؟ طيب look يا اخوان. Lines equal what? What did we call the file? Let me call it file. F. For line in F. بس خلاص. والله. print line lines plus equal what? And after the loop, I'll just go and get what? Is it؟ نعم. ليش يا اخي انا خايف منك يعني انت بجوز قفلته. هذا بيرات بجوز سكر عليكم والله. ما في غير بيرات اللي عملها صح؟ مين اخر واحد اجا؟ شو عملت في الباب؟ وكيف نروح؟ عندي امتحان بعد هان المحاضرة. من برا سكرته وفكرت حالك بالليل مروح؟ مش مفتحش الباب؟ تعال شوف في كي عنده. تعال حل المشكلة. Now here, what did we forget يا شباب here? For print line dot r what? R strip, you can do it anytime here, R strip \n and run. Is it the same output? Is it same output? 3 programs صح؟ يا شباب, when you open a file, this is a file. هلا today I cannot really explain. لاحظوا على طول قلنا له 4 line in file. Python understood it. انه I want to يعني Python did some steps for you to make it easy. You are not really reading the line. صح ولا لا? You are not saying read line. But when you open a file, Python will read them by lines and give them available to you. The problem is I cannot really explain it easily because next chapter, next lecture maybe, we will study lists. And once we study lists, we will know that Python will create a list of lines. Tamam? So, what is the easiest way to read a file line by line? Tell me, what is it? Just open the file and then 4 will go line by line in file. طبعا انا ليش بدي اقول هون text f لو كان اسمه text f for what? For line in what? Text. You get this? Whatever your file is, just use a for loop. This is the easiest way ever to what? To read a file line by. So far today I'm talking about lines. صح ولا لا؟ استنى شوي خلي الباب مفتوح. افتح. تعال. ايوه. خليك واقف عليه. يودة. واحد قال له يودة واحد قال له جودة. اوف هاي صارت جراحة بدها الموضوع. ماشي. طبعا الاخ اللي اجى هلا مش راح احطه غياب لانه لولا انتم مش راح تروحوا صح؟ راح احطه متاخر. ماشي. So what's the easiest way to work with what? We read the file بس على طول for line in file object بس. Very very straightforward. Very straightforward. طيب. اوكي ركزوا معنا هلا. What do you see in this file? Numbers صح ولا لا? I'll just rename it. And the file name is what now? What's the file name? Sales. This is the sales of this month. This is the sales of what? Each one is 1 day sale. تمام يا شباب? Did you get it? طيب. I want you to find the total sales. of this month. You get this? Where is the data? Are you going to input it or read it from the file? طيب, you ask me how many lines. والله ما في معلوم how many lines. We just did this. صح ولا لا? So يلا. F dot what? Open what? What's the file name? Sales.txt. And we opening it for what? Read. Total sales equal what? 0. We can do this using for loop. صح ولا لا? Huh? For line in F. Yes or no? Sale. Remember, I need to convert it to float. صح ولا لا? Yes or no? Is equal to what? Float what? Line. And total sales plus equal what? Sale. Does that make sense? Total sale. Okay. Okay. خلينا نسميها, بحب الاسماء هاي. Day what? Day sales. تمام. Good. By the way, خلصنا. Print. بس هيك راح اطبع total sales. Run. And what did you forget? Reading is done. Then what? Close the file. Run. What's this? طيب, I want the average sales. If you want the average sales, you need to count the number of lines. صح ولا لا? So, you can say days equal what? صح ولا لا? And here day plus days what? Plus equal what? This is total sales now. Okay. Total sales. صح? And Brent average daily sales. What? Total sales of divided by what? Days. Run. Good. I want also to output Brent F. تمام. اوكي. مش هيك الاف صح. اوكي. Red sales for days. Does that make sense? So now what? Red sales for how many days? Total sales is this much, output is this much. Wow. Does that make sense? لا غلط. Data, you need to know the data is in float, or you need to know. يعني لازم تكون عارف what is the data. If it's a float, read it as a float. In this example, you should know. يعني الexam أو الquestion would tell you the data is float. تمام? If the data is integer, طيب يلا, what's next? What do you think the next thing I'm gonna add here? What do you think the next thing I'm gonna add here? Max sales equals float. What? Minus what? Infinity. Does that make sense? صح ولا لا? يلا, what to do here? If day sales greater than what? Max sales, then max sales is equal to what? Day sales. Do you want to know which day? Do you want to know which day the max sales were, Okay. And here max day equals 0 هلا first. تمام. And here we will say max day equals what? Equal days. صح؟ مش هو اللي فيه الترتيب؟ لاحظوا after I read it, huh? So what do you think my output will be? A print F what? Highest sales. What? Max what? On day number. وتحط ايش بدي اعمل؟ Do you understand? Max what? Max day. Run. High sale this much on day number what? You have seen this question, صح ولا لا? But where what? From what? From keyboard, صح ولا لا? But now we are doing this from files. طبعا if I want minimum sale وهاي صارت قصة قديمة، صح ولا لا? Yes or no? Good. But remember here I am reading line by line. Good. Very good example. Very good example. تمام. If I tell you average, you know, you count the number of lines, you count the total, and. That's it. So here, using Python loop. طبعا I could have done this. I used which loop يا شباب to read line by line? For loop. Can I use this loop? Yes. Can I use this loop, that loop? Yes, I can use any loop, huh? Total sale. لا for loop خلاص هو Python checks for while you need to. Yes, because with for loop Python works with it, knows how to reach it. There is a bit of details that I'll explain in next class. Total sales what here? فاهمين السؤال? You know why I named it this way, صح ولا لا? Total sales what? And here I'll take all this code and copy it here. By the way يا شباب والله I'm gonna change. Okay, here what here I need to do? F صح؟ ولا موجودة حتى كان. Good. يلا let us see what we need to change. I can use while true صح؟ If line is empty, or I can read one before the loop. Yes or no? You understand what I'm saying? I will come, I'm going to use while true. While true. And now I need to manually read the line is equal to what? يلا قولوا لي. F dot what? Read line. R what? Strip. I can do, yeah, شباب, and I can do all of this in one strip. In one what? But it's safer to read it in a text. Now what should I say? If what? If line equal what? خالي string, then what? وبس. على فكرة, I don't think I need to change the code, by the way. والله. Because I already have what here? So when are you going to quit this loop? When this loop is going to finish? When the read line returns what? Empty string, صح? And here we already have a counter, صح ولا لا? طيب run, والله شوف. Oppa, same result, صح ولا لا? Do you see how what I changed أنا? But with while loop, you need to read it yourself. With for loop, they read it for you. Good? ماشي؟ تمام. Of course, I can do it with while, read one before the loop, and. Good, excellent. Processing what? Records. You know what's a record, يا شباب? What's a record? You will know what's a record يعني. Either from me, يا مني يا من غيري، واحسنها تسمعها مني بدل ما تسمعها من مين؟ من غيري، ها؟ Good. So let us see what is a record. What is a record? Record is collection of information about one thing. About what? One thing. كوارث صح؟ محمد صح؟ دائما عندي مشكلة بالغياب. لازم تغير كوارث. خفاف بدها تبديل صح؟ اوكي. طيب كواري ايش موترك؟ XR. So make, what is the make? Toyota صح؟ موديل لاند كروزر صح؟ موديل يعني النوع. هذيك اسمها ايش؟ يير. اي عنده 20 25 ما تفكروا اي واحد. اوكي طيب فيول بترول. اوكي برايس 225. كلر بينك. ليه لا يعني تمام. جولد تمام. All this information يا شباب about who? The motor of who? محمد. حتى I can here say owner is what? محمد كوالي. يجي شخص ثاني زي علي عنده هوندا for example. الموديل ريكورد. في ريكورد والاكورد. اكورد. اليير مسكين 2001. الفيول ما كانش فيه الا بترول اصلا صح ولا لا؟ حقها 5000. اللون واين. طيب نيجي one more car. Now what I want to say, this is a record. This is a record about one car. You understand? The record contains many fields. Fields is one piece of data. Like what? What is a field? What's the field here? Make. So how many pieces of information you have? What's the field here? Year. How many fields we have in this record? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I can have, this is all the fields of one item are called what? Record. Sigil. All the fields of one item are called what? Record. So here, what's the fuel field of Ziyad? Petrol. What's the color field of Ziyad is what? White. But all the information about Ziyad's car are what? What do we call them? Record. So this is what? Record. And you can have thousands of records. Do you get this now? So do you know what's a record? A record is a collection of what fields? I can give you other examples. Tamam. Phone. What's the make? Samsung. What's the year? What's the memory? What's the each piece of information we call it field. All of them about the one piece, one item, we call them what? A record. You understand now what's a field and what's a record? Tamam? Good. كويس. بس خلاص هاي. Then here, record is a set of what? A set of data that describe what? One item. Field is what? What's a field? Write records to sequentially access files by writing fields one after the other. تمام. Read records. تمام. هلا مش راح نفهم الا with example. تمام. Look here. We have how many records here? 3 records. It's clear that first one is name, second one is ID, third one is department. Name, ID, department. Name, ID, departments. How many fields we have in this record? 3. طيب. طيب قولوا لي we need to find a good example. Okay, here I say, for example, records1.python. Let's say I have please listen, understand carefully. We'll do this example with so many things. We will have students data. تمام. record. We'll find GPA or year of birth or name or ID. تمام. And we'll create a database or of records. We are going to write. You understand? At the end, ya shabab, it's better to show you the end result, huh? At the end, I want some file to be like what? Name, whatever, whatever, whatever. Then we start the next record. Then we start a new record. So let us just do it. F means open studs.txt, and we're gonna do it for, what do you think, right? تمام, أكيد right. But next time maybe you need it append. صح. الحين دوت رايت سيدي ماشي ما عندي مشكلة. Count, I'll say integer. Input, how many students? Good. يلا. For I in range 1, count plus 1. You all معلوم what I'm doing, yes or no? صح ولا لا? Huh? Now for each student, I want name, ID, GPA, and year of birth. By the way, نوعت الأنواع text, float, و GPA وهاي. Does that make sense? طيب name is equal to what? Input. ايش بدنا نقول له؟ And name, okay. Student number. You know I did this, huh? Number what? 1, name. Good? حاضر صح. Number I. And next, what I want 4 things, صح? Student ID. يا شباب, ID, phone number, plate number is not integer. Anything you don't use for calculations is text. Can I use your phone number to calculate something? صحيح انه of digits, صح? Yes or no? Your car plate number, صح ولا لا? Is it? But usually this information is not to be used for numeric. If you make it ID, it will work, but I'm just giving you in general. Do you use phone numbers for comparisons or what? No. Do you guess greater than, less than, divide? No. It's just some text or some ID, but all of digits. But do you guarantee the ID in this university it's all digits? Maybe sometimes they add some characters, صح ولا لا? يلا, what's next here? GPA, and GPA is going to be what? Float. Input, what? GPA. And finally what? Birth year, سنة الميلاد, صح ولا لا? Integer, this one. Do you agree? This one is integer. And students 1, year of birth. طيب. How many fields I am reading now? 4. So I have the record of the student. Do you understand my point here? I have the record of the student. So now I need to send it to the file. Line by line. What's the file name? F.write name. You know why I need this. كمان F.write, each one is separate line. ايش عنا اللي بعده? ID. And now we are writing float, صح? F.write. Okay, str what? GPA. Yes or no? And finally, f.write str ايش birth year, okay, plus good, and خلاص, just second, and now we close the file. So if I say 5 students, they will ask me what? How many records? And then I write the data. I come back how many times now? 5 times, or count times. Do you get this يا شباب? ايش سؤالك? I will run now. How many students I have? 3, 5. Ali Hassan. Student ID. Student GPA. Year of birth 2003. Student number 2 name Nasser Muhammad. ID is this. GPA 3.01. 2001. Okay, Muhammad Abdullah. Student ID is this much. GPA 2.2. Year of birth 2000. Okay, Walid Khalid. The student ID is this much. GPA 2.1. Year of birth 2000. Okay, Ahmed Ali. This is the ID of Ahmed Ali. GPA is 1.7. Year of birth 2000. خلصنا. And now what do I need to see here? A file name what? Studs. This is our file. Do you see records? This first record for who? How many fields? And now here what? Nasser. Do you get this يا شباب? So I'm taking input, I'm sending it. طبعا today you are asking me why each piece of information in one line, صح? Can we make it like, yes we can, okay? But now just do this. Do you get this يا شباب؟ طبعا next time هلا أنا if I run this فمن البداية ما عجبني أنا، بس لأنه هو اللي أنقذنا اليوم من السجن، okay؟ مشيت له إياه، تمام؟ This should be append now. I need to append one more students. شو اسمك؟ سلم ايش؟ سلم جابر، تمام؟ وهاي مسلم جابر، والجي بي اي ما شاء الله 3.99999، يعني هو بس كان مرة راح عليه، تمام. year of birth طبعا مسلم، اوكي. 2000 وكم يا مسلم؟ ليش بدور لك على عروس كاين انا؟ 2005. والله كبرت انا. اوكي، صار طلاب 2005 اللي عندنا في الجامعه. هلا نشوف ايش احنا شغالين. ستادز، مين اخر واحد عندنا؟ Do you get this يا شباب؟ So we have records here. Do you get this now? Are we outputting records to a file? And if you want to keep you just do this. تمام. طبعا still this is not the end of the world يا شباب. Okay, يعني here look at this same example يا شباب. If there is something, tell me. Name, ID, department. بس here they are taking how many? Good. Name, ID, department. اللي بيحكوا بس. Wait. Name, ID, department, number of employees. Every example. If you want to read records that are, if you want to read them, that's fine. But remember, خليكم معي. Reading this is not straightforward. We did read line by line, صح? In the loop read one line. Okay. Now, in the loop, how many lines we need to read? Now, every time you go inside the loop, how many lines you need to read? 4 lines. Do you understand this? يعني now, كل لفة جوا اللوب, every iteration inside the loop, you need to read all the records. تمام? For loop is not our best choice here, because 4 will go line by line. So here maybe we need to use what? A while loop. صح ولا لا? But every iteration يا اخوان, every iteration we need to read all the records. I'll just show you here. Here the example had three lines. صح ولا لا? So here look, you know this. While name, what is the first field in the while name is not equal to what? صح? Is the first line name? So is the first field name? Yes. So while name is not equal to this, do this. But inside the loop now, you read line, you read next, you read next. So next time you come to read the next name. If there is no name, it's the end of what? Do you get this? And what I'm going to do, يا أخوان, I'm going to quickly write a code. ولا بلاش. I will just do it. I will do it next time for this one. And next is going to be exceptions. You need to understand the concept. The concept is very simple. Now, why now? Let me just do some code. I'll go here and create a new folder. I'll call it exceptions. And I'll create example 1. Okay, guys, x is equal to 10. Do you see this code now? Tamam? Y is equal 0. Good? Z is equal x divided by y. Print z. What's this? What happens when I run this code? What? What's going to happen? Tell me. Is the program going to continue? Huh? Print program continues. What happens? Tell me when I run this code. What's the error? Which value error? Read. What's the error? 0 what? Why 0 division error? Why? Because you are dividing by 0, which is infinity, and you cannot do this. Computers cannot calculate infinity. So your program, did it continue? Did it print Z or print program continues? So what's this? If this is 2, what's going to happen? Everything is normal, right? And if it's 0, what's going to happen? Error. And what happened to the program? No, finish means everything is good. The program was what? Crashed. The program did not continue, crashed. Tamam? Because there is an exception. Exception is a problem or an incident at runtime. At runtime, when you run, that causes your program to crash. And we don't want this. Programs should handle this problem without crashing. Do you get this? Good? Fine. Let me give you another example. Here I ask the user to enter number of stars, and then I print stars times stars. I'll comment this code, amigos. So now when I run this program, it will ask me how many stars. I'll say 50. It will multiply 50 by stars. Does that make sense? It's working fine. What are you expected to input here? Integer. Now look at this now. I entered text. I am supposed to enter what? But I'm inputting what? Text. What happens to my program? It will crash. And because what? Why? Why value error؟ شو بقول هون؟ Invalid literal. Literal means قيمة. For integer. KKK, I cannot use as integer. I cannot continue. The program crashes. Do you get this? This is another exception. What's the exception name here? So, and the program what? Crashes, huh? Input text or float. What happens to the program? Even if you input float, look, huh? 3.33, what happens? Value error. Is this a integer? What's a value error, ya shabab? When you input text and the program is expecting what? What happens to the program? Crashes. The program doesn't continue. صح ولا لا? This is another type of what? Of errors. Okay. Do you see this file name? What's the file name? Studs. تمام? Good? طيب. I will try to open the file. F is equal to open. What's the file name? Studs.txt. And for which mode? For line in F print line.rstrip, and after the loop I close the line the file. Now I'll comment this, yeah, shabab. I open this file. Is it working fine? Good. Right. What if you try to open a file that does not exist? Do we have this file? What do you think is going to happen? Exception. What's the exception name now? File not found what? What does it say? No such what? And the program, what happened to the program? Did it crash? So what's this file? Non-existing what? So if you try to use a file that does not exist, the program will generate or throw or raise an exception, and it crashes. So tell me what an exception is, ya shabab. A problem during runtime that makes the program stop working and crashes. Good? It's sometimes we cannot do anything. Sometimes we can. But now, if I go to this now, and I ask you, what is an exception? Error that occurs while the program is what? So that's what usually causes the program to abruptly what? Halt. Halt means يعني stop. بشكل غير متوقع. And how do you know what exception? You from the message you get what? The types of exceptions. Do you see? We got zero division error, value error, file not found error. So what's our major problem with exceptions? Can we prevent exceptions? No. Exceptions will happen. Our role as programmers is to prevent our program from what? Crashing. Instead of crashing, we should tell the user there was a problem, we cannot continue, we go back to another screen or menu or something. Remember, users use your software, not programmers. They don't know what's file not found error, zero division error. صح ولا لا? So what's our role now? Is to prevent our program from crashing. Is to prevent our program from crashing. And can we prevent our program from crashing? Yes, we can. Can we prevent exceptions? No. يعني if the user keeps entering text, what's going to happen? We cannot run. صح ولا لا? If the user insists on reading file that does not exist, the program will not be able to do that. But our role is to prevent the program from what? Crashing. Now, how we prevent programs from crashing? I'll just show you one example here. We call it what? Careful coding. Okay? Careful what? What's careful coding? Before I divide, if y what? Is not equal 0. Does that make sense? You get this, amigos? Else what? Brent what? Cannot divide by 0. Now what's going to happen if y is 0? So here, did we avoid the 0 division error? Did we avoid it? How did we avoid it? By coding. By writing some careful coding. Here what? Cannot what? But the program what? What's the most important point now? The program continues. There might be 1 million lines here. صح ولا لا? So now, we avoided this by what? By doing what? Some what? Careful coding. Careful coding is good and you should use it. But it's not going to always help you to prevent exceptions. Do you get this? It's not going to always help you to prevent what? There are exceptions. You cannot do anything. What if the user inputs the wrong file name? We need to do some kind of what? Careful coding, ya shabab, is good, but it's not going to be how we handle exceptions in all cases. Did you understand what's careful coding now? Tamam? Yani do some if statements here and there, but you cannot always do this. You can do it in many cases, and it should be done. But this is not the main way of handling what? Exceptions. Let us see how we handle exceptions. This is very important now. I'll take the same code here. And what's the title now? Handling. What's the title, ya shabab? Handling. Handling means تعامل معه. Do something, but your program should keep what? Running. Good. Your program should keep running. Type. Look at this, ya shabab. Look at this code now. Try. Except 0 division error. Print division by 0. And here, look at this code now. This is something new to you. If there is a code that might raise an exception or throw an exception, we need to handle it. How to handle it? Look at the code now. Do you see try? Try, what is inside try? What we put inside try? We put the code that might generate what? What is inside try? The code that might what? Generate exception. الكود اللي احتمال انه يعمل exception بنحطه جوا مين؟ جوا try. Except means what? We are telling the interpreter, دير بالك what? This code might throw or raise which type of exceptions? In this case, tell us. هلا الكود اللي احتمال يعطينا exception بنحطه داخل what? What block? Try. Which exception I'm trying here to catch? Which exception? 0 division error. If 0 division error happens, What's going to happen here? It will print what? But now there is something new. There's something new. The program what? The program is going to do what? Is going to continue. This is the new thing that I am telling my interpreter. دير بالك الكود اللي داخل try احتمال يعمل exception. Which exception؟ إذا عملوا أعطينا هيك and continue. Run. What happens? Did the program crash? Remember, it's not one line. There might be 1 million lines later. صح ولا لا? Yes or no? So try. What you put inside try? The code that might raise an exception or throw an exception. Except what? Zero division error. طيب wait. EX4. Yalla, tell me now what I'm gonna do here. I'm gonna take which one? This one, value error. You remember the value error, صح ولا لا? And it will be what? Handling what? Value error. Now, which code? I will say try. Stars. Good. Except which error? Print. Wrong. Input. Type. Good. And I will just go here and say what? What? Program what? If your code, this is my code, how many stars? 20. Is it going to raise an exception? Is it? So this line 5 will be skipped. You get this يا شباب. يعني there was no exception. تمام خلاص. Life is good. Sorry. Okay. Run here. How many stars? 33. Run. Program what? طيب now run. How many stars? What now? Which exception will be raised? Are you handling it this time? So it will tell you what happened, and the good thing that in line 7 the program what? Continues. Wrong what? And did the program crash? No. صح ولا لا? Next time. EX5. You know which one I'm gonna get, صح? Where is it? The file. Here. And what's this? Handling. طيب. Now, try. Do you agree? Which code? This code. Except, which exception? File, not found what? Error. Brent. Okay, no such file. And what to do here? I will just copy and, you know, I am putting this statement here. صح ولا لا? Now, what happens if the file is not there? If the file is there, what's going to happen first? No exception. So this one will be skipped. صح ولا لا? Yes or no? Run. Everything works fine. What about now? There will be which exception? File not found what? So you get this message, and the good thing that what? The program what? Continues. Does that make sense يا شباب? نعم. Yeah, this is step. Okay. Now, if we look at this here, what's the title of this slide now? Exception what? Handling, dealing with. تعامل معه. your program needs not to crash. You get that? Look here. Here, you are not handling the exception. Do you see try except here? So if this file does not exist, what's going to happen? The program is going to throw or raise which error? File not found error, and the program crashes. Here, you're using try. You put all the code here, and except here, they are handling IO error. Don't worry which error now. And now they are giving you a message. The good thing that if the file does not exist, what's going to happen? The program what? Continues. So what do we call this? What do you call this, ya shabab? Try except. What do we call it? Exception handling. Exception handler, code that responds when exceptions are raised and prevents program from. Is it clear what's exception handling? Try except. What you put inside the try, the code that can potentially means احتمال, raise an exception. And what you put inside the except, the statements, what to do. If there was no exception raised in the try block, the except block will be skipped. صح ولا لا? If there was exceptions, the except block will be executed, and in both cases the program continues. Does that make sense? Good. طيب, what message to show to the user if there is a problem? Good. Huh? See, I'll just print what? This is not the right thing. Good. Look at this. As E. Now, this is an object of which type? File not found. You remember import turtle as T? يعني this is a short name, huh? Type. Now you just print what? Whatever name you give. Look at the output, ya shabab. What? You get? This is a message. This is the message you are getting from who? From the file not found what? Error. I'll go back to the other one. As V. Print whatever. Now it will print the message. What's the message now? Look. Invalid literal for integer. So do you know how as you can use it for exception? Does that make sense? I'll go here and as whatever name ya shabab you can give. And now I'll print Z. Does that make sense, ya akhwan? So do you see when you give it a name to the instance of the, so now what you get here? Division by 0. You can add your own text to it. But if you want a message that comes from the exception itself or the exception object, tamam? So this is what's going to happen. ماشي؟ طيب. Look at this code يا شباب. معي؟ Here, look at this and tell me, you need to understand it. Run. Integer, input, enter X. And for Y, I would say integer input, enter what? Y. Yalla, pay attention. Run. X is 10, Y is 2. Is there any exception? تمام؟ طيب, run. X is 10, Y is 0. What's the exception now? Right, now look at this. X is what? Now what's this? What's this error? Value error. Right, now my question is, the value error. Is your code handling value error? So your program is going to crash. Because you are handling what? Which error here you are handling? Are you handling value error? No, your program crashes. صح ولا لا؟ طبعا Birat is asking, طب how to handle multiple errors? It's easy. Just go here and say except what? What? Does that make sense? So now your code is handling what? This code. We have two possibilities. It might generate value error and what? Zero division error. Does that make sense? طيب, now if I run this, yalla, tell me now. If it's 10 and 2, what's going to happen? Nothing. صح? All of them are skipped. If it's 10 and 0, which except block will be used? Zero division error. Now if you input wrong data, that type, what happens? And in all cases, what happened? The program what? طيب خلينا نخلي حياتكم كمان. F is equal to what? Open studs dot what? Studs dot what? txt. Text is equal F dot what? Read F dot بند كرو. Close F. Now, what's going to happen now? Do you have this file? So this code is going to raise which exception? Are you handling it? Okay. So what do you suggest, amigos? What do you suggest? Except what? File not found error. Okay. And print the message. Does that make sense now? Now what's going to happen? You get the exception handled and your program what? Continuous. شو تقول له؟ لازم تكتب كود. تقول له ما تقول له هذا مش بالكودينج. Run. Now, which exception is going to be caught? Zero division error. طيب. Now, which exception is going to be caught? And in all cases, what? Your program what? Does that make sense, amigos? Did you get this? Did you understand it? Now. والله بعرف تسأل السؤال. بعرف يعني. صاحبنا شايفينه تعبان. صار له شهرين بدرس بدون إجازة. صح ولا لا؟ Look, he is exhausted. He wants only one exception. Good? طيب. He said, can I just make it one exception? والحياة مش مستاهلة بتقول. وانت ما قلتش الستيتمنت بس كان هيك قصدك صح. الحياة مش مستاهلة والدنيا فانية ويعني one exception. والله you can, there is an exception. هو الأب العود is the grandparent of all exceptions. Brent E. There was no file exception, صح ولا لا? And there was no type error. But now there's what? It handled the code and it works, صح ولا لا? Now, there is a type error. It handled the code and the program worked. And now there is what? Here. What's this? File not found. It handled the code and it did not handle it. Right. Now, He says, خلاص طيب يا رجل حرام عليك انت صار لك ساعة. You are explaining so many types of exceptions and what? But now what I'm going to tell him بدون ما ازعله طبعا تمام. What I'm going to tell him, what if you need to do different code for different exceptions? يعني if the problem is zero division error, you would write code not the same as type error, not the same as what? Find not found error, not the same as other errors. There are so many errors. We are just giving you what? Examples now. So how are we going to do this? No matter what was the exception type, I'm going to put a new exception, which is out of boundary exception. Don't worry what's this exception. Tamam? Now there is a new exception. Out of boundary. What's the out of what? If you just use exception load, the grandparent of all exceptions, can you write different code to handle different exceptions? Can you? Yes or no? Halla, in this case, can you do it? Because no matter what the exception is, it will come here. صح ولا لا? However, if your code was like this, if it's zero division error, you would do something else. صح ولا لا؟ خليك معي here. وين zero division؟ اللي هي مين؟ look here. Zero division error what? Why is what? What's you good here? And this is on x على what? I'll make zero division error. 10 and 0. Now where I take you? Where are you now? Inside where? Okay. 0. طب 8 يلا. Did you get this يا شباب? So why it's not good to use one exception زي انك تعمل نفس العمليه لكل المرضى كلهم عندهم اللوز سواء عنده الزايده عنده مصران عنده يعني you're gonna do the same correction. Now can you do different handling for different types of errors with if I use that exception? So do you know why it's necessary to use the right type of exception? طيب هلا maybe it's not written here in the slides, okay, but I need you to know that exceptions come in hierarchies. So what hierarchies are? ايش يعني hierarchy? Hierarchy يعني تسلسل. There is a parent of all what? Of all what? Exceptions. Let us say we have exceptions of type IO. يا شباب, if you see IO in computers, any textbook, IO means what? Input what? Input what? Output. IO error. Maybe the IO error has what? File not found error. File exists error. There are so many errors, tamam? Okay, and there is an error called, for example, B. And B has two sub errors called C and what? D. Now listen carefully. All of them are exception, yes or no? Find IO error and B are what? Exceptions. Find not found error. Is it an IO error? Yes. Is it an exception? C, is it an exception? Is it D, B? But is B C? Is IO error D? Do you understand this? يعني the subtype is the super type. But the super type is not the subtype. Does that make sense? يعني all of them are what? But IO error, is it an exception? Yes or no? Is exception an IO error? صح ولا لا؟ زي الانهيرتنس احنا بنسميه. So now let me show you this now. Let me show you this. شوفوا except exception. معاي؟ What's the problem with this code? There is a problem with the code. Any exception happens here, it will find what? Exception. طب any exception is an exception. Find not found error is also what? Zero error is what? Exception. Value error is what? Exception. So هلا no matter what you do, تمام؟ وين الهاي؟ ها run. مش في input؟ What's this؟ صح ولا لا؟ Do you have input here? طيب. Enter X. What's this error? You will find that it will go to where? It will not go to طب ها? Look, 10 and 0. This is what? So normally it should go to where? But because you have what? First, is zero division error an exception? Yes or no? So look, it will go to the first one. Did it go to this code? طيب. So what's a good idea? Tell me. Use exception, but use it as what? In the bottom. The more general the exception is, it should go to where? To the bottom. The more specific the exception is, it should go where? So now, and I'm going to repeat the same code. Look, I'm going to say 10 and 0. What's going to happen? Where it will be handled? Oh, did you get this now? Now they take, okay, now they take you what? Inside, and they try to solve the problem with you. But why last time didn't work? Because this was before what? Zero division error. And zero division error is an exception. يعني the more specific the error is, put it what? On top. The more general, you leave it what? To the bottom. يعني here, if you want to handle three exceptions, exception, IO and file not found, which one you put first? File not found. Next. And next is, you get this. Come on, good. Yalla, next. Next is what here? I will go to example what? 4. Look at this. Else. Brent, life is good. Actually, here, I will not print stars if there is an exception. Amigos, if there is an exception, I will not print stars. I will only print stars if what? If there is no what? Except, did you understand this? So what is else now? Tell me what's else. The code that you want to work if there was no exception. The code that you want to work if there was no exception, you put inside what? The code you want to do if there is an exception, you put inside what? Except. The code that احتمال يعمل exception, potentially raise an exception, you put inside what? So now, if there is no error, 10. Did you print 10 stars? Where did you put this code? Inside the else. Did you get this, ya shabab? I'll go to another example here. Here. What to do now? Tell me. Else? Huh? Else? Else means what? Else means what? Huh? If the code is what? So in this case, you're going to print what? Z. طبعا now no need for, no, this is the wrong one. This is careful handling. Mardia. I want to go to the here. Oh, أنا كبر ما هو صح. I'll take this one. Here, EX6. Okay. This was my code now. Okay. And X, Y, Z. Okay. Now what should I do here? Try, صح? Except what? What? Yes or no? Zero division error as Z. تمام? Print what? Z. Else. What do you want to print? Else. لا لازم نعدل I'll call this result. Does that make sense? معايا يا شباب؟ Result. Else print what? يعني if there was no exception, what are you gonna do? If there is an exception, you do this. Run. Division by 0. Type now. What's gonna happen? It will print 5 and why it printed 5? Because which code was executed? Why? Because there was no exception. There was no exception here. Good. يعني I can call here. Where is the example? 4 or 5, I believe. 3. I can put this. Can I put, sorry. Can I put this code here? Do you understand, يا شباب? Do you get this? يا Brent. So now, if there is an exception, I try to do what? Correct it. Inside which block? If there is no exception, I just print what? The result. And now, if this is 0, there is an exception. Yes or no? So what's going to happen? Which block will be executed now? What they tell you? Error, 3. Does that make sense? Good. So what is else? The code that you want to do if there was no exception. I'll go to the file here. Where is the file? Here. Good. Else. Actually, else, I will do this. Because now I know there is no what? Here. If there is no exception, I open the lines and try to do what? صح ولا لا? I no need to do it. No such file. تمام. But if there is a file, what to do now? Do you get this? So what you put inside else? The code that you wanted to be executed if there was no what? Does that make sense? Do you get this? Type. Next. Finally. What's finally? Finally, amigos, means what? Whether there is an exception or there is no exception, this code will be executed. تمام. whether there was an exception or no exception. يعني هلا in all cases how many stars? 10. But what you see now, was it executed? طيب ها. And now how many stars? Also you see we are here. So let us now revisit this. What you put inside try is the code that might raise an exception. Does that make sense? What you put inside except is the code that you want to execute if the exception was thrown or raised. Does that make sense? What you put inside else is the code that you want to execute if there was no such exception in the try block. يعني finally it looks at the try block. There was no exception, so else will be executed. There was an exception. Which one will be executed? Except. And in all cases, what's going to happen? If you have finally, okay, fine. Now, else and finally are optional. Else and finally are what? Else you put the code that you want to do if there was no exception. Finally, you put the code that you want to do if there is what? An exception or not. Except is not optional. Does that make sense? Good. ماشي الحال. So try, except, else, and what? Good. ماشي الحال.